Good evening. Good evening. We're going to give people just 1 minute here. I'm a little early. We are excited. I hope everyone has had a fantastic day. This weather seems to be warming up a little bit, so that is good. That is good. This is our very first premiere, so I do apologize. We had some technical issues with our campaign page. Apparently with Facebook, there is a window that your page has to be kind of ongoing before you can use it for live purposes. So we kind of just switched over here to the personal page, which has been around for a long time. So we're able to do our live this way. So I apologize for those who went to the campaign page, couldn't get in. I'm glad to see that you found us over here. We are going to get started and dive right in. First of all, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is the premiere of Ask Shirley. We're going to be using this forum over the next 4 weeks to talk about different policy issues as it relates to the campaign, to what our focus is. So we'll be doing different topics, and we'll go ahead and let you know in advance so that you can, if it's something that you're really interested in, you won't miss that opportunity. Tonight we're going to be talking about public safety and immigration. So those two kind of go hand in hand in some ways. And so we're going to walk through all of that. Babette, good to see you. I see people logging in here, hopping in. This is all designed to not only let you know what I'm looking to do as your next state senator, but also to hear from you so we'll have opportunities for you to chime in and put your comments in the chat or however you prefer to ask your question. And we're going to try to get as much answered in our hour as possible. So again, first of all, thank you all so much for joining me tonight for this first episode of Ask Shirley. If you're just logging in, we're going to be talking tonight predominantly about public safety and immigration. And again, every Monday night, this is going to happen from 7 to 8 p.m. We'll be doing it on this side of the page, on the personal page, just because of the limitations with the campaign page. So tonight we're going to start with public safety and immigration, but more importantly, illegal immigration and how it impacts public safety. I'll share with you where I stand on these issues, and then again, I'll open it up for you to jump in with questions. So thank you all for hopping in and taking time out of your busy schedules. I know Mondays can be a little rough coming off the weekend. So again, I appreciate your ability to come in and join us for this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am the Republican candidate for State Senate District 17. I have been in public policy and public life for a very long time. Over 10 years, I spent 10 years with the state Senate. I have worked both in the private sector and the public sector. So I understand how what we do at the Capitol impacts how we live life every day. So that's going to be, I think, beneficial for you. I have a couple other unique elements to me. I served as executive director for a child advocacy center and CASA program. That's the court-appointed special advocates program. So we're dealing with children who are not only physically abused and sexually abused, but also trafficked. And I also spent time on the FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force and was also appointed multiple times to the statewide child death review team. I've been trained as a child forensic interviewer. And so just a life spent in community and families, working with people, but also working with policy, understanding how quality policy is drafted, the negotiations, the stakeholders, and how all of that plays into the mix so that we can work together to get a piece of legislation that's going to impact families in the most positive and viable way. So that's a little bit about me. I come from a very large family. We're a very close-knit family, a faith-filled family where, Christ is the center focus, and my faith has guided me through everything that I do, however I'm serving following Christ is a component for me, because that moral conviction helps guide the decisions I make. It helps guide my leadership and direction. And so I think that's important to note as a Christian conservative. So we're going to hop right in, because I know an hour goes by a lot faster than we think. And I want to make sure that we have an opportunity for your questions. So public safety. So first of all, I prioritize public safety. And one of the reasons is because nothing else matters if our families don't feel safe at home, if they don't feel safe in their schools, if you're not comfortable letting your children out in the community because you're not sure what will happen to them or if they'll return. So those kinds of things impede public safety and how the quality of life that we live. So for District 17, strengthening public safety means supporting law enforcement, holding violent offenders accountable, but also ensuring that our laws are protecting our families and not kind of acquiescing to criminals. And we're seeing a little bit of that kind of play out across the land. And even here in North Carolina, we saw some of the negative impact of that. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But public safety also impacts economic stability. And so we want a place where we can not only survive, but also thrive. And so it's hard to thrive in a place where public safety is at issue. Why? Businesses are not going to feel safe to run. People are going to flee and seek other communities. That has an impact on our tax base, which is what we use to fund programs and to make sure that those who are vulnerable in our communities can have help and support. So we don't need that flight occurring because then that impacts our economic stability. But it also causes costs to rise because, when you have that flight, then our costs and the cost of living go up because there's less money in the till. And so we want to be careful to watch our public safety so that people feel like this is not a place that they want to run from, but a place they want to run to. We want to be a refuge, a refuge for even other states. The numbers, and I don't have them exact, but it's like something to the effect of 2,500 new people moving into the Raleigh, North Carolina, kind of the Triangle area monthly. And I think that's because we have a great place to live, but we have to secure that, and we can't let it get out of hand so that people say, oh yeah, I'd rather go someplace else. So again, that public safety is important to that. The General Assembly, we've got to pursue policies that are going to reduce the cost of living for people, support small businesses, attract responsible investors. But again, all of that relies on the way people are going to be able to do business in your community and the way they're going to be able to survive and thrive. And this benefits both urban and rural. Public safety is not just an issue in our cities. It is also an issue in our rural communities. And so we're conscious of that as well. By prioritizing public safety, the General Assembly can effectively address the other issues that are of great importance to us all: education, job growth, all of those things. But we've got to make sure that we are creating the proper infrastructure to support all of those things that we want to add and to protect our families first. Strengthening opportunity, and then ensuring that North Carolina, especially District 17, is a place where people can live, work, and thrive. Safe communities are the foundation of a safe state and a strong state. And so we want to be conscious of that. When lawlessness increase, emergencies take place, we are not able to respond in the right amount of time when we have so many deflecting things that are garnering our attention, especially when you're talking about, public safety. Do we go to the woman who's experiencing a break-in, or do we, deal with something that's happening where with ICE? All of these different things, they play for the attention. And so that's why if we create the appropriate legislation that's going to help guide that policy and guide how we operate, it's going to make us a stronger place, not only to live, but again, to work and to invite others to come and join the great state of North Carolina. So very excited about that. I want to pivot a little bit into the issue of immigration. And I know it's a hot button issue. It's an issue that people are very concerned about, and some people are very worried about. And we saw some of the negative impact of illegal immigration in our state. I'm a strong proponent of legal immigration. there is a process, and that process is important. And the reason it's important is actually for multiple reasons. Number one, it allows us to assimilate people into our culture and community at a rate that we could absorb it. When you have an influx, then it's, you're shifting people into communities, and people don't have opportunities to kind of shift and move so that that happens in a natural way, and so that it actually happens in a way that's going to be profitable to us as a country and also into our communities. So having that legal process is important for that. The legal process is also important to make sure that people that are coming to our communities are people who are safe, people who are not criminals, people who don't have records, and also people who can sow into the community and help it grow. Bringing cultures and different levels of flavors to our community is so important to the fabric of who we are as Americans, as North Carolinians, but it's also important to make sure that we are bringing the best and the brightest and the strongest to our communities so that we know that we are not causing a safety net for someone else that is actually going to end up being a tragedy or a travesty for us. So we have to be conscious of that. The other thing is that it allows us to assess what type of needs individuals have. Right now, and I don't need to read you guys the Riot Act. You see the news the same way I do. You're seeing it in North Carolina, in Ohio, in Michigan. There were some issues in California, and we have our own issue with some fraud and things like that as well. And what we're seeing is that a lot of people who are coming from other countries as illegal immigrants, we're finding them on our doles. What does that mean? That means that people who are eligible for our programs, American citizens, North Carolinians who are eligible for our programs, are being put on wait list or told that the service isn't available because it has been infiltrated by people who shouldn't be on the program. And so that's another reason why the process is so important, because we begin to evaluate who should be on public assistance and who shouldn't, and then how that's going to impact, again, our community and at what rate. Because again, when you have an influx, you have a crisis. If you can stagger it out, then it's manageable. And so the purpose of legal immigration is to be able to manage the system in a way that's going to meet our best interests while helping someone else. Charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. So we've got to make sure that things are taken care of for here. So that's my statement on legal immigration. Now when we shift to illegal immigration, we know that that's a problem. And what we found in our state and across the nation is that a lot of people who are coming here illegally are not coming with the best intentions. They are coming with their repeat offenders and criminals. They have been kicked out of our country and then re-entered some other way, and it's caused a problem. We had a situation last year, and it prompted legislation through Irina's law, where this young woman's on the train, minding her business, probably on her way home from work, just in the community, using the public assistance or public services. So she's sewing into the economy, all of these things. And she's stabbed because someone thought it was okay to do that. They thought it was okay. Now, this person had some issues, I think mentally, because you'd have to have mental issues to harm someone that way. But that is just, and that person was not an illegal immigrant. I want to be clear on that. But these are the travesties that we're facing. In South Carolina, we had a similar situation where a person was, a woman was attacked and then subsequently killed. And with that woman, it was an illegal immigrant. So that's someone who's not vetted. That's someone who we didn't even know was here. All of those things matter. I was looking at some statistics in preparation for this, because I think sometimes we can talk about different scenarios and we can be emotional about those, but it's hard to be emotional about numbers, because numbers are just numbers. Those are just the cold hard facts. They are not wrapped in someone's lingo. They are not wrapped in someone's own scenario, but it's the facts. So in 2025, ICE arrests were up 170% over the previous year. And that's over 1,800 people who had been arrested under this in 2025. And this is in the first half of the year. Most of them, the majority of them, had previous arrest records. They were repeat offenders. They had slipped through the system because, like the case with Irina's law, this person had been arrested and was released on his own recognizance. So no bail, no just go home and come back when you're supposed to. Now, we're talking about people who have come to our country illegally. That makes me question whether or not there's somebody you can be honest with and shake hands and say, okay, we have a deal. So this person did not show back up for court. Instead, he committed another crime while out. So we have all of these things taking place in our community. Operation Charlotte's Web, that took place in the Charlotte area. That was later in 2025, near the end of the year, where, again, there was another large arrest. I believe it's 1,300 in that group. And these were violent offenders. So these are gang members. They were people who had been arrested for violent DUIs. They had been arrested for manslaughter, and also more violently, just actual murder. So these are the types of people that are entering our country illegally. And when we're not able to vet them, then they are leashed on our communities, and we're none the wiser. So we're going about our daily lives, we're functioning in our daily things, and not knowing that this evil exists, or this harm is out there. So when we're letting our kids go out, when we're going out, you just don't know what's coming at you, because these people have come here in a form that does not allow us to vet them and make sure that they're safe for our communities. I've gone through quite a bit, so I'm going to open it up here for questions. And I'm going to look in the chat here. Let's see here. And if you want to, I believe there's a way you can just click a button on your side. It's not showing it to me on my side, where if you want to ask a question, you can just chime in, or you can put it down in the comments, and I'll see that as well. Just chime in, or you can put it sorry, I pulled it up on my computer as well so that I can see your comments a little bit better. On the phone, it's a little bit much. And even if you have a question or a concern that's not on these two topics, definitely feel free to ask it. We will definitely try to answer whatever we can. And if we have to go and research it and get more information, we'll do that as well. Any questions so far? I'm not seeing any questions. So I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm running. One of the reasons I'm running is because I feel that I have a very unique background. 10 years with the state Senate, working with legislation, working with appropriations, on communication staff, working outreach. But I also have worked in the private sector and the public sector as well. So when you mix those two together, you get a much better balance of what's really happening, and more importantly, what the impact is on legislation. So when we are at the Capitol and we're putting in the long hours and we're in a legislative session and we're fighting out there for you, I understand what it means to you when we have laws that aren't connecting. They sounded good to some of our lobbyist friends. They sounded good to different advocacy groups, but it's not translating properly. And one of the things that I saw, especially during my time with the FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force and working with the Child Advocacy Center, is that there were a lot of laws that just did not insulate families well. And so that's very important to me, because you have a lot of parents who are struggling to keep their children safe, and then they have these predators that are conning their children. And you see that not only in the real life engagement, but online. Online is another point of access where criminals and traffickers can get to your children. And so as a legislator, I want to make sure that we're strengthening our laws for that, so that people who are violating children, people who are attacking our kids, are not only being brought to trial, but that we have laws in place that can really secure their conviction. Because we had a lot of cases where they would just fall through, because when you think of a trafficking situation, there is a lot of pressure put on by the traffickers. A lot of times these traffickers have had an opportunity to groom the person and let them know that, and invict fear in them. And so they weren't as forthcoming. And so we have to find ways to build the system so that the victim is not being re-victimized just to get the person off the street. So they've done the crime, but now especially in these cases, these were children, they're having to stand up in a way. And we see this over and over played out. And so wanting to strengthen those laws, especially where children are concerned, where it's human trafficking, child exploitation, whether it's on the internet or, in person. We find that sometimes with leaders and community leaders who have access to our children, and they put themselves in that position just for that sake. So wanting to strengthen those types of laws as well. We're talking about public safety. We're talking about the impact of having a strong and a solid community so that you feel safe living in North Carolina. It's a beautiful state. The weather's usually amazing. Like, we're going to ignore this week. Normally the weather is fantastic. And to have all of that sunshine and all of that wonderment, but you don't feel like your children are safe, that's not good. It's not a healthy environment, and it's not a thriving environment. And so one of the reasons I'm running is because I believe that my experience on both sides, behind the scenes with the legislature and out in the community with the people that this is impacting directly, gives me a different type of perspective into what is needed and how to work with people to get what our people need, to get what our families need, to get what our communities need. When we talk about public safety, some of you may say, well, what does that look like in real life? What are you talking about? We're talking about strengthening controls for our police departments and our police forces, making sure that they have what they need to do their jobs, make sure that they not only have the training that they need, but that they also have the resources that they need, because a lot of our police departments are not funded at a good level. And so they're doing the best with what they have. They're understaffed, they're overworked. So being able to put systems in place that's going to support them. But in addition to that, we also have to look at the laws. We can't tell them to go out and do their jobs, and then they go and they arrest people, and then before they can get back in their cars and finish their reports, these people are back out on the streets. So when we talk about that, we want to talk about insulating not only our law enforcement, but then also making sure that the laws and that our judges are on board with this, because we have to run the system together. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work siloed. And so wanting to make sure that we are doing that. Also, looking at legal reforms. There's a lot of legal reform that needs to happen. And that's where the legislature comes in. That's where we step in to say, let's examine the laws and how they're working, or in a lot of cases not working for our communities. And then how do we strengthen this? And so we have to get together and we have to understand. And sometimes that comes in the form of a task force with law enforcement. Where are we failing you to do your job and to do it well? Having community meetings. Where do you feel? Meetings similar to this. Back in the old days, they used to call these town hall meetings, and you'd go to the local community center and have these. They've evaluated that, and now they're teletown halls, and now we're doing lives. So with the times, we've changed the method, but the reality remains that we have to talk to one another. We've got a dialogue in order for us to be a strong community, a healthy community, and a vibrant community. I'm still looking here at I'm tag teaming here, just making sure. And again, anybody just chime in if you, Minnesota, I don't know, Minnesota, you guys are a little too cold for me, especially after living here in North Carolina. I've grown accustomed to my sunshine. So again, just to do a quick recap, I'm not going to hold you guys if you don't have questions. If you think of something later, don't hesitate. You can go to my Facebook page. You can go to the campaign page. Just shoot me a private message. We are very, very quick in responding. Again, even if we don't have the answer, we'll let you know. We're looking into it and we'll get back to you, but we will definitely communicate with you. You can also send us an email at Shirley Johnson 4 SD as in Senate District 17 @gmail.com. Again, we will check that. We will get back to you. Just a really quick recap. We are looking for solid public safety that is going to allow our officers to have the supports that they need. We are going to look very much into also making sure that our legal reforms and that our judges are on board with the changes so that our families can be stronger and healthier. And as we do that, we're also going to see an uptick in businesses and people moving here, and our communities growing and being strengthened because they know that they are moving to a place, they're moving their business to a place where it's not going to be looted every 15 minutes. They're moving their families to a place where they're not going to have to worry about someone breaking in on them, because the word is going to be out that North Carolina is not the place to go if you're in folly. It is the place to go when you want to live a good, healthy, and vibrant life. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to do one more sweep for questions because I don't want to miss any of these. Alrighty. Thank you all so much for being here. Dr. Angela, good to see you tonight. Miss Whitcliffe, thank you all so much for coming. Miss Sanders, Della Sanders, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, we appreciate you guys. We're going to be doing this every Monday, different topics every Monday. Next week, we'll have a different topic. We will advertise it ahead of time. Again, if it's something that you know you're interested in, or you have a family member that's interested, let them know, because we want to communicate with you. This is not someone running for Senate who's over here somewhere displaced from you. We are connected. We are community. And that's so important to me, that I understand you and you have an understanding of me, and we're working together to make our communities thrive. We are first in flight here in North Carolina and first in freedom. I want to make us first in family and first in faith as well. So let's work together to strengthen our communities and to be a huge support to one another. Thank you. I also ask for your vote. We have a primary March 3rd. We're almost a month out, almost exactly a month out. So March 3rd, Tuesday, March 3rd. I have some information that's on our page already about some things that you'll need for that. But I'll also be posting some more information directly related to the primary itself. So you'll be able to click on that and find your polling places and all of those things. Listen, we are so excited for this race, and we're so excited to represent you here in Raleigh. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we will see you all next Monday. Good night.